Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. Got the coffee going this morning. We have Kermit back in action again. He's green and loving it. The day after a game. So we're gonna definitely talk a lot about the game. We'll be joined by a few guests as we go along the way over here. So while they join us, let's start talking about the game because obviously that's what's going to be on everybody's mind for the most part. We talked about it before, like earlier in the week. We talked about it in the Monday podcast about like the importance of the game, how important is it, do we care, and stuff like that. And I know there were like two different camps on it in terms of people who thought, hey, this is our chance at a trophy this year to put one more. At the same time, it's like, do we really want this headache? And has become a trophy that do you really want or do you really care kind of a deal. On this, I think it's only good when it's joined by other trophies. So it's a double or a triple or something like that. Alan says, good freezing morning, Timuchin. You know how freaking cold it is. Insert joke here. It is so goddamn cold. And actually, I ended up, there we go. Hold on. As we tell that story, let's bring on Carrick over here. What's going on, man?
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So yeah, I'm sure your weather is a lot more mild than what I got going outside over here. But yeah,
Oh my God.
It was so ridiculous yesterday. And like the snow started. That's why actually I didn't end up watching the full game. I watched the first 20, and then it was like mostly highlights and then other stuff I've caught here and there. Because I had to take like later to work because it was not really good driving conditions and stuff. So Carrick, let me ask you, was I lucky to not have watched that game fully and be on the snowy roads instead?
Um, well, to be honest, the team that we put out, I think City put out a stronger squad than we did.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me, based on how the game was being played, it seemed like City wanted to win. It seemed like a statement game in their minds. De Bruyne played a great game. De Bruyne put a lot of effort into it. And so I'm not surprised they won. Darwin Núñez, though, had a horrible time in front of goal. And if he had a better game, then the scoreline might have been different. But all in all, I'm not too worried about it. It is a Carabao Cup. Yes, it's not the main prize, but winning trophies is always important. But I'm not so worried about that score.
Yeah, honestly, like when we were talking beforehand about how many people, like City is going to be missing, it was like, oh, pretty good. We should be able to like be match up. But it felt like, and I don't know if it was because we mismatched in certain parts of the field. I know obviously our spine was kind of missing in action. I guess like Fab came in later and stuff. But when you miss that and when you're kind of like outmatched in midfield, makes everything a lot hotter. Okay, so you never thought this would happen, but finally we've gotten Michael Martin live on air over here. Michael, what's happening, man?
Hey, good morning. How's everyone?
We're good. We're cold here. I don't know how it is over there, but at least I am freezing my ass over here. But so we're talking about the game. I mean, do you think that's like a fair result at the end of the day?
Yesterday's match,
looking at the lineups.
Yesterday's match, I think based on the run of play, I think it was a fair result. I think the unfortunate part is especially the first goal, kind of brain fart, dead moment, just not engaged in a couple different spots on the field. And it led to, City's going to earn a goal or two in every match they play. The quality is always there. So when you concede something so cheaply, so softly, that hurts. It's going to come back to haunt you. You don't want to get in a position where you have to try and outscore City in a game like that, back and forth. With De Bruyne in the midfield and Haaland up front, I thought they were good for 3 goals before the match started. So that was going to be the hurdle to overcome. So when you give up soft early, then it just makes it even that more difficult.
And that's one thing that Klopp talked about too in the post match about that being the disappointing part, how we conceded.
Right.
Like I say, having watched the first 15 live, it looked like we were kind of running around with chicken with their heads cut off, like no shape, no control. And I know when you have so many people playing out of position in that back line and people who have not played together on that back line, that's semi to be expected. I know Kenrick did out Nunez. Is there another performance you see out there that you're like, man, I'm worried about this moving forward? Or you kind of give it to the fact that it's like a mixed match of a squad after all? Is there another performance you see out there that you're like,
Gomez was a little bit of a worrying some side for me. I think Gomez has such great potential, but he tends to have these moments where I think his brain switches off and he makes these silly mistakes and he doesn't do what he should do. He doesn't cover, he doesn't attack the ball, and we might end up conceding. But I think Gomez is a good defender. But what he needs to do is to just get his mental aspect of his game going so that he can be a great defender. So I think Gomez needs to take a look at himself as to what he needs to do for the rest of his career. So that's one thing that concerns me.
How about you, Michael? Any performance that sticks out to you in a negative kind of way, I guess?
Well, I think, as I was watching yesterday, I was thinking, so on the one hand, it's really good news that when whoever partners with Van Dijk, that just seems to raise their game up. And then what that does is when Van Dijk's not there, that just strips away, and it really highlights the deficiencies. And, Joe, no one can argue with Joe's performance the first, 12, 13 games of the year that we won the league. And he was, he was 2 years younger, and they were the best center back pairing in the league. We weren't conceding goals. Allison's back there smoking cigars, just chilling. And so that part is really interesting. I think his lack of awareness at times just comes with his mental match fitness. He's just not getting the reps. And I think we've seen the quality from Gomez. What he can do when he's on, he's not injured, and he's in a regular rhythm. I think he's still good. I think the bare bones are there. I don't know. He needs the game time, and we can't afford to give him the game time right now the way he's playing. So, maybe a loan for him. I don't know where that's going to go. Carvalho for me is still a question mark. When I saw him in the lineup yesterday, I thought, and he scored a goal, and you take goals all day long. It's kind of a soft shot and a poorly positioned goalkeeper in that moment, if you ask, if I'm being honest. But I'm still not sure about him. He seems a little soft on the ball. He was getting banged up, knocked around pretty good. And some of them were fouls, but some of them I thought I was hoping him to be just a little stronger on the ball. It's just a weird season. You see within the matches, the quality is there. But then there's 2, 3, 4 moments a match where you're just sitting there going, what the fuck is going on here? What am I watching? And so I thought Kelleher was good. I really I posted in the channel, I wanted him to get 3 or 4 games in this cup because I think there's not a lot of assets the club has to sell these days. Yeah. And I think that's one that if he had another strong run, young goalkeeper, you could probably get a decent fee for him. Not that I'm anxious to move him on, but there's not a lot of people that the club could move on right now. But anyway, that's a sidebar. You asked about or concern, areas for concern. For a game coming back after a 6-week break where, you had a real preseason kind of run into it with some friendlies, playing in warm weather and all that, and coming back after that, I think that game was a coin toss either way. And yesterday it went City's way. I think a bounce here, a bounce there, that could end up 3-2, 2-1 Liverpool, and we would have been ecstatic, even though we didn't play great.
I think that's the thing with the League Cup, Kenrick. I mean, in some ways, you're like, okay, we're out of there, so it's good, like clears the schedule and stuff like that, so you can take it that way. But it goes back to, and this is what, like what Michael is talking about, and I know that's the part that I have a trouble with is some of these guys that we talk about getting more game time, like the Gomez, like the Kelleher, like Bazzetti, like these guys that need more playing time. Hey, you can throw Carvalho in there, like maybe to find himself, build that strength, build that momentum in play. And when you take the League Cup away, you kind of like shelf these guys even more, and they're only thrown in there in case of an emergency. You break the glass, you put Gomez in there, and he has kind of, become the Lauren of the back line, where he gets the blame, even if he's like just warming up to get in or whatever. If he's close enough to the pitch, he feels like he gets the blame. Where do you stand on the fact that we're out of the League Cup? Do you take it as like a blessing in disguise? Or do you keep going at it?
I think, as you rightly said, and I agree with Michael as well, as a lot of these fringe players, they would normally get a lot of playing time in the League Cup. The fact that we're out, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the club to keep them fit, to keep them match ready for an intense part of the season where we might need them. I can look at our players and really see that they need some game time. So we need some game time, and the game time will not come in the league. It may come in the FA Cup. It may have to come in some of the Champions League games that we may be favorites, which tends to happen from time to time. But all in all, I would have loved to see us do a deep run in the Carabao Cup, so that these fringe players can keep fit, can keep match fit. Because looking at the play, I could really tell that they needed some games under their belt. Where they're going to get these games from, I'm not sure, but we'd have to figure that out.
I think the flip side of Michael is the fact that because we don't have depth in the squad, if we kept going, it's not only those fringe players that are going to get to play, we will have to play regular 11 starters too, who wear down for the weekend. How much of a concern is it? You talked about the front line. We're pretty much down to, 3 people who can play up there. And like Bobby was ill, so on the calf injury, so he's not out there. So automatically you put Carvalho in a place where he really probably shouldn't be. He's not suited for.
Right.
So we always talked about midfield being the concern. If you could only fix midfield, how concerned are we with the front line now? Because I'm not trusting the February timeline for Jota, the March timeline for Diaz now, especially having seen what happened with Diaz this past month.
Right. Yeah. So hey, morning.
There we go. You can tell it's the morning.
Yeah. So, this is one of those riddles with no solution. If you really look at it and you try and figure out. With that front three yesterday of Carvalho, Nunez, and Salah against sort of a makeshift back line from City, I felt okay with that front group. I thought we would generate the looks that we needed to put a few away. And, Nunez was just a little bit off to the left, I think, on his 3 best chances, just wide of the frame. And again, if he puts one of those away, if he puts one of those away, we're having a completely different conversation, because in days that Kelleher would have stopped 2, and that would have been fine. So I still think that the problem with any, and I've if you know me, I've been around the game for, I'm 50 years old, so I've been around the game for 52 years. Forever.
Years to the years, baby.
yeah, baby. Yeah. So, but I've coached a lot. I've coached for 20 some years, and in all the different phases of the game right now, what's happening for Liverpool is 2 out of 3 are okay in any given game. Right. In this game, it's attack maybe and defense. Next game, it might be midfield and defense, or some games it's the attack, it's the midfield, and the defense is crap. So they're just striving for that consistency. The numbers obviously up front right now are low based on the injuries. My biggest concern this season has been, even though he has put some goals in, is Salah's just a different player this year with and the timing with the big contract. I hope it's just a coincidence, but those are moments like yesterday where he would have pulled something out of his hat, right? If this was a year ago, 2 years ago, get him isolated on the wing and make something happen. And he did score a good goal, and it wasn't a simple tap in. The ball was a little behind him. He got a good touch on it. So I think that even if you have to run Salah and Nunez and fill in the third, maybe it's Bobby sometimes, maybe it's Carvalho, I still think the quality is there with those 2 as the base. to generate 3, 4, 5 good looks per game. But when Nunez goes 0 for 4, then you pay the price on the other side, right? So I still think the midfield I think concerned a lot of people, in the channel yesterday when the lineup came out. In the first half was really rough in the midfield. I still think there's more questions in the midfield long term than there is up front.
Exactly. I agree with you, Michael. Our midfield needs an overhaul. There's no two ways about it. There's no going around it. Henderson is a professional. I mean, I like when this guy is on the pitch. You understand what he lacks in quality, he makes up for it in effort and leadership. So too James Milner. Excellent coverage by Dyson in the middle. Yeah, to me, I hate to say it, but the jury is still out in my mind on Thiago Alcantara. I do not think we've seen the best of Thiago in a Liverpool shirt. I'm not sure if it's because he spent so much time on the treatment table than on the pitch itself. But I still can count on one hand the moments that I can say, hey, that is a difference of having Thiago in the squad. So I think he needs to get himself fit and be on the pitch for a longer period of time so that we can see his quality. I don't think we've seen enough of him. So the midfield, I do not think we have that dynamic player in the middle of the park that can do things for us, unfortunately. But I think long term, we may need to think about getting that type of player in there.
I love Thiago.
That's like the cause of the problem after all, because you were talking about like the different phases. You almost feel, I mean, I don't know, maybe because I'm a defender, but I feel like if your midfield is solid, that automatically uplifts your back line and, uplifts. Whereas like the two obviously don't connect. You think, because, Thiago, we'll talk about Thiago now. I mean, he was meant to be the icing on the cake to a very well functioning midfield. And you just throw this in there too, put the cherry on top and we're set. Whereas now it feels like we're relying on him a lot more. What do you make of it? Like what we've gotten out of him so far or the state he's in?
Is that for me? I didn't hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I love Thiago. I love his game, his vision. He's smooth. Any pass in the bag, he can make it. I think he's at the point in his career where you can ask him to lead the midfield when you're at home against Bournemouth.
Yes.
You can't ask him to lead the midfield in a Champions League away game, at Madrid. And that's where I rate him as a player. I think he's incredibly valuable, but only if he's the second or third midfielder and everyone's playing at a high level. So his best moments with the club have been when Fab was playing very, very well, right? When Fab was the best number 6 in the world, or at least top 3, right? That's a complete game changer for a player like Thiago. Yeah. So I think it's, the circumstances have led to him probably being on the team sheet more often than maybe he should be or could be, only because in a lot of these situations, like I said, he's asked to lead that midfield. And he can't be everywhere all the time. So then you pair him with, Baja yesterday and Elliott. I just felt like it was going to be a bit disjointed in the midfield. He can't cover the ground. He can cover it with his passes, but not with his feet.
Yeah.
So that's where I rate him. Henderson, I think Henderson's going to descend into that, hey, every other game kind of a role because he doesn't have as much gas in the tank. And it just points to the depth issues. Yeah. So it just points to the depth issues that they have there. I love Milner. The utility he's provided has been fantastic.
Fantastic.
You can see this year. It's just, what's the test they do when they come back from the running test or the beep test or whatever they call it, the lactic acid test, whatever it is, and he can excel in that, and that's fantastic. It's incredible. I wish I could do that. But that's not translating to what we've seen from him on the pitch in recent years. So I'm pro Thiago. I'm pro Thiago. Just when he's our number one midfielder, our midfield's going to struggle.
Yes,
I think it
that's
almost
true.
sounds like, Kenrick, like we have a lot of guys that you can probably bring in the 60th minute to keep control of the game.
Exactly.
And, you know, like Henderson, like Milner, you know, go out there,
Right.
control the game. Because when you have a guy like Henderson, like you were talking about, Kenrick, where maybe, I mean, and that kind of like diminishes the skill. I think it's like a very smart and skilled player, but his biggest thing is efforts. And when you get a guy that's biggest strength is based on efforts and kind of like being dynamic, well, as age goes up there, as the legs gets older, obviously, you know, you're gonna get less and less and less. So I feel like he's perfect for a role where comes in the second half or comes in like 30 minutes and stuff like that. Same thing with Milner. You can throw him out there in the last 20 minutes, get a yellow card, put a couple of tackles in, and then you're happy. But that's, we just basically talked about the core of our current midfield as like guys who can come in the last 30 minutes. But
Right.
the good thing is,
Guess what, guys?
I read
Guess
that
what, guys? Guess what happened yesterday? We
Yeah.
had a Naby Keita sighting yesterday.
Oh yes, yeah. So
We had a
I have to
Naby
say,
Keita
I
sighting.
did not see those. We even had an ox sighting that I missed
Yes.
out on. But what are you gonna do? But so, but the good thing is, you know, I read that Discord channel, and you know, not being able to watch the game occasionally, like I pop it out, and it's like you kind of browse through it, and it was a lot of doom and gloom in there. You guys kind of have brightened up a little bit, I would say, compared to the extreme doom and gloom I read there. So, Kenrick, as we look ahead to Monday now, how much of a difference are we going to see in this team in terms of how they approach Monday, the players that will be on the field Monday? Can we be optimistic this Christmas?
Oh boy! So the player from the World Cup, we never had a lot of them yesterday. So I'm not sure if Klopp is prepared to thrust them all in on Monday against Aston Villa. But it is something that we made to think about. The team yesterday, they never seemed fluid. They never seemed, you know, that Liverpool fluidity that you come to expect when we're playing. But again, we're playing City, so that might not be a good benchmark by which I need to judge. But to go against Aston Villa, we need a result. We definitely need a result. Am I going to throw the guys coming from the World Cup back in? Am I going to put Van Dijk back there? I'm going to put Konate back there. Am I going to put any of these players who had this exhausting emotional World Cup? Or I'm going to stick with this team that played against City? That is for Klopp to decide, and that's why he gets the big bucks. But if it was up to me, I think I may go ahead with this team that started against City. Having some more training sessions under the belt with the players coming in may reveal who is game ready, and Klopp will make a decision from there. But I trust Klopp to make a good decision come Monday. Right now, I'm not sure who's available because, again, of the World Cup situation. But I trust Klopp to make a good decision, and whoever he puts out there on Monday, even if Kelleher keeps his position in goal, I think it would be good enough for us to have a result. I do not expect to see Emi Martinez in goal for Aston Villa. I don't expect to see him.
No, like a Golden Glove as a dick.
Yeah,
goal, maybe
he deserves a month for holiday because he was by
he's
far the
not
best
that even
goalkeeper in the World
strong
Cup.
yet to leave alone be able to play. So here's my concern about Monday, and you know, Bickler says Emery knows how to play us. I think if it was still like Gerrard over there, no offense to him, but I would feel a lot more comfortable about Monday's game. But Unai Emery knows kind of how to frustrate this team, Michael, especially defensively, and and they do have people who can hurt you on the counter. I guess that's my biggest concern going into this Monday. How do you see Monday coming out?
Yeah, I agree with what Paul just posted. I think Emery in his managerial career, and it may be part of the reason that he's had many jobs. I think he, in these moments, he looks at individual games more like cup or knockout type games, as opposed to, you know, like a big picture type, you know, fluidity to the season and things like that. And you'll see teams that he's managed get really unexpected good results, and then maybe turn around and get a crap result. And I think, again, that makes him great in cup competitions, but I think that's why he struggles in regular season campaigns. So I think that Monday's a tough game. I think he knows how to frustrate. I think he knows how to slow down and temper things. I think Van Dijk gets back in the side based on the performance of the back line, this past week. I thought Phillips was good. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if it was Phillips and Van Dijk, but I think you'll see Matip and Van Dijk in the back. And then, going forward, again, Paul's other comment where he said, the best teams have 6 to 8 midfielders to rotate. And unfortunately, because of injury or form or what have you, we don't have that luxury right now. I think you'll see something like I wouldn't be surprised if he goes with the old school, Hendo, Fabinho, and Thiago on that match on Monday. I think Hendo gets back into the first 11. You're looking at the games right now, just going back to back to back, matches galore over the next, several weeks. And he's going to have to rotate whether he wants to or not. And, away at Villa, and then you turn around and you have Leicester at home. Leicester at home, maybe that's a good game. You run out, a couple of the either the younger guys and maybe look for a rescue late on. Leicester's not playing well. So I think they'll go with a really strong lineup against Villa. I think that the push for the top 4 is now the number one priority. It's not debatable. You've got the club on the edge of the expansion of the stands. There's so much at stake anymore. Year after year, the compound interest of the value of the Champions League, it just continues to increase exponentially. And once you're in, you simply can't afford to not be in anymore. So I think they go with a strong lineup. I think it'll probably be ugly, maybe even a little bit chippy. But fortunately, hopefully, when we see the team sheet for Villa, Mings will be in there, and that will give me more confidence than if he was not in there, because he's always got an accident waiting to happen. So that's my hope.
So, Kenrick, give us a score prediction for Monday. I think it's going to be interesting to see how teams come back after the World Cup, because, we kind of have like a perception of every team on the way to the World Cup. We don't know if everybody's going to continue as they were or going to be like a totally different team now. Depends on how they used, how many guys they had go to the World Cup and stuff like that. But give us a score prediction for Monday. We have not been great with these predictions in the World Cup, that's for sure. But
we've been horrible. Well, I've been horrible with World Cup predictions. This World Cup has shattered my confidence in terms of making predictions. I'm like Darwin Núñez in terms of making predictions, or in terms of confidence. But I have to back my Liverpool team. I still think we come away with a victory. I do not expect a blinder. I expect we come away with take a deep breath and says 1-0 Liverpool.
That is a lot of deep breaths that I will have to do in that game. How about you, Michael? What do you see as a score?
Yeah, I do see. I see Liverpool win. I see 2-1, and that's just coming off a game where the back looked really, really shaky at moments. But I think the quality is there, and I think a 2-1 Liverpool win.
I was going to go with 2-1 too. 2-1 sounds good to me, even though it's not good for my heart. I'll take the 3 points. I'll sacrifice my heart for 3 points at the stage, so that we can get the top 4. But gentlemen, thanks a lot for Kenrick as always every Friday, and Michael, thanks a lot for hopping on, man.
Glad to.
Happy holidays to both you guys. And hopefully Monday we'll open a new chapter in Premier League. And thanks to all those listening.
And the people in the comments. Big ups to the people in the comments.
Yes, I appreciate it as always. Even Bickler is happy this morning. So maybe we need Bickler in the mornings. He seems more chipper in the morning than at night. But take care, everybody. See you guys.
All right. Bye, guys.